How did you find this property? Let's start there.
I was looking at a property in another part of the county, also on Smith Lake, and had put in a contract for it, thought I had the property. In fact, my wife resigned her position with West Florida Hospital
Wow.
based on that contract. And we came here and realized that I was competing with someone and didn't know it. And so it ended up that we didn't get that property. But I ran into a guy, the guy who bought it. I ran into him at church of all places, and he said, "Hey, I just want to talk with you about what happened there." And it was great. He said, "But let me tell you about a property that I was looking at and decided against." And he said, "You may want to look at it. It's over on the other side of the county, but I'll tell you where it is." And he told me, and I drove up out here. When I came across the dam there and spotted this lake, which is a private lake with a property on the main lake, Smith Lake. When I drove across that dam, I knew then why I didn't get the other property.
Wow.
Because I envisioned this house and contacted a lady in Birmingham who drew it for me. And I had been, I actually had a folder with pictures that I had torn out of magazines, as you were stating, about another person. And so I started incorporating those things into this. I wanted a front porch fireplace. This style house, which is sort of a lodge, I didn't want any sheetrock. I didn't want any carpet. And I wanted porches everywhere. So we wound up here with, I think, 1,700 plus square feet of porches. And then all wood walls, ceiling, floors, a lot of light, windows, doors. And out here, you don't have to have window coverings.
Yeah.
It's a grand thing.
It's super private.
So we can live out here in the wide open and feel like we're camping out when we're in.
So that was 2002 when you bought the property?
That was 2002, 2000, and it bled over into 2003. In the fall, I think it was in the fall of 2003, and then over into 2004. The construction took a little over a year. Yeah.
And you didn't want the house to look new at all. You wanted it to be rustic by design.
I wanted it, my terminology, and I'm not sure that it's right, but I wanted it to appear organic, and I wanted it to seem that it had evolved. We have this porch that wraps across the front and then down the side, and I wanted the master bedroom suite there to look as though we had just enclosed part of this porch and made a bedroom suite out of it. And then on the other side, where that guest suite is on that side, I wanted it to look like maybe we had pulled up an old smokehouse from somewhere and attached it to this house. And then we put a screen porch there. When we moved in here, I didn't want it to feel like I was moving into a new house.
Right. Yeah, I think you accomplished that. So you've got 4 suites.
Right.
So you've got 2 on the main level and then 1 up and 1 down.
1 down, right.
They each have their own bath.
Right. Sitting areas.
And sitting areas.
Porches on 3 of them.
Porches on 3 of them. Very functional layouts, but it's essentially a 4-way split. So it's very private. Everybody has their own kind of wing of the house. Would you say that's accurate?
Right. Well, the central part of the house is what connects everything from above, below, and then from the 2 sides, because we have the master suite on one end of the house. We have the other guest suite on the main level. Actually, 4 families could live here fairly independently.
Yeah.
And just have common use of the living, dining, and kitchen areas.
Well, so you've got a unique piece of property that with a very unique residence on it. But this house we were going through, you were taking me on a tour of the property, and it's just so versatile. So you could have, as you mentioned, people that love to have their ATV toys, or these so many trails here would be great for riding horses. There's a big development upside to this, but also if you're a hunter, you said you have deer, turkeys. There's actually a ladder stand and a shooting house, and there's 2 green fields.
Right.
Am I getting it all?
Right.
So there's just so many different possibilities. So somebody could buy this place for investment. It could be a family compound, a corporate retreat, just so many different things you could do with it. And that could evolve over time, I would imagine. But it would make just a really fantastic family compound, because there's so many beautiful home sites around this lake. But then again, we're just a stone's throw away from Smith Lake and all it has to offer.
Right.
So,
right. And the property, actually, there are almost 3 segments to the property. There's the upper gate area, which would be a great area for equestrian or hunting, and then there's this middle area where the main house is, and then the lower gate area is on Smith Lake. So we have approximately 36 acres in here, and then about 450 feet on Smith Lake. This private lake here is just on this property. So the front yard is a lake, and it's maybe 2+ acres. And it has catfish, bluegill, bass, and is a great, clean swimming hole. I'd say it's one of the largest swimming pools in the county. It's a natural swimming pool.
And great for entertaining. You've had some big parties out here.
Oh yeah, we've entertained with these porches and that central area. We had 80 people here for a get together, and there was nothing crowded about this place. I mean, there were people spread out down to the swim pier, and all along the lakefront here, the downstairs porches. It is a destination,
and it's a year-round destination. You mentioned as we were riding around, you're like, I love this place all year round, and that's very unique because we're in the off season right now. So most of everybody around the lake is packed up, and will come back in the spring. But I mean, literally, you can hunt out here during hunting season. There's great places to camp. There's several creeks and streams and waterfalls, and just really picturesque picnic areas. There's just a lot to do out here. But if you're somebody that works from home, needs peace and quiet, you have an office here, you've got high-speed internet, you're just what are we, 30 minutes from Publix, 20 minutes from Publix in Coleman?
Yeah, it's about 30 minutes.
30 minutes. So you're 30 minutes from all the modern conveniences. So you've got like this retreat in the woods, but you don't have to sacrifice kind of your modern living in terms of TV or streaming or downloading and uploading for work purposes. So it's one of the more unique properties I've ever seen. Just so versatile, so private, so secluded. Yet, I mean, if you could take your golf cart to Trident Marina and have a shrimp po' boy and visit with friends, and then come back here and just get away from it all. It's amazing.
Right. The by water, Trident is 30 seconds from our lakefront.
Yeah.
Because from our lakefront you can see Big Bridge, and then by golf cart or side by side, you can get on the side by side right here and be in Trident Grill in 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
And they have events there. I don't know their whole event calendar, but I've been up there at times where they've had some live music for special occasions.
Yeah, weekends, Saturday nights.
Yeah.
We can hear the bands.
So you can be social if you want to, or you can be really introverted if you want to. If you love to read, I would imagine if somebody is an author and just needs a quiet place to concentrate and crank out their text, that this would be it'd be great for get your creative juices flowing too.
Yeah. Inspirational.
But if you have, kids or grandkids that love the outdoors, my daughter, she just got a 4-wheeler, and we couldn't keep her off these trails if she was back here. So she loves to fish. She's a little country girl. So this would be like her, just absolute heaven. But what are your favorite aspects of the property? Like when you come here, you mentioned that, your wife's more social. You like more the seclusion. So you've spent more time here than anybody. Is that correct?
Right. I love the fact, this is a gated property. I love the fact that when that gate opens and I drive through it, that I am disconnecting. When that gate closes behind me, I am disconnecting and stepping almost into a different era.
Mm-hmm.
Because this house, this property is timeless. And so I could actually be stepping back into a different time.
Yeah.
Just by coming through that gate and that gate closing. So one would be limited only by his imagination.
Right.
In coming into this setting. And you're totally disconnected if that's desired. And yet you can be on a 4-wheeler and reconnect in a matter of 5 minutes.
Right.
But we don't see anything. We don't see anybody but nature. I pulled across the dam there one day, and there were 14 turkeys in that side yard right there. Looked out my dining room into that side yard, and there were 6 deer. I've looked out and watched deer walking along the dam there. Just at breakfast time, I'll sit there and watch nature. It is an absolutely unspoiled nature setting. It reminds me of being, we have a home in Tennessee, but it reminds me of going into some of those Appalachian foothills and in some of those retreat areas where you're up on the side of a mountain and you feel like you've just separated yourself from the whole world.
Yeah.
This has sort of that same feel.
What about the house itself? Like what are some of your favorite rooms in the house?
Well, this place where we're sitting right here is a screen porch this is the screen porch for the master bedroom suite.
And it's right. I mean, you could come out here and have dinner, visit with friends.
Yeah.
Great place to sit and read a book. There's several good book reading spots.
But in the fall, this time of year, and in the winter, my favorite place outside is right there in front of that fireplace on the porch.
Yeah,
I have a rocking chair there, and I'll prop my feet up on that hearth and build a fire. And my dad would say, "Boy, a guy could lose a crop right here, couldn't he?" So there are several places on this property one could lose a crop because they just couldn't get motivated to get back out in the field.
Yeah.
But canoeing, just paddling around on the water, and then something as simple as a noodle in the summertime.
Just float.
Just get a noodle and go out there and just float around. And then these little floating chaise lounges you can get. Go out there with a couple of friends and just forget that the world exists.
Yeah.
Catch up on things, unhurried, timeless.
Yeah, it really is
timeless.
Really is a retreat. But people are not familiar with lake life. Now, you mentioned the noodle. and you know, a lot of the places that we've hung out so far on the lake, you know, a lot of boat traffic, and you know, it may not seem like a big deal, but when those big wake boats go by and they're pulling the tubes or they're surfing behind it, you know, it'll get you rocking. And so you don't have any of that here. If you want it, it's there, but if you don't, I mean, it's like you're having your own private lake is pretty unique.
Well, and Jason, one reason there were 3 places on this property that we considered building the house. The type house that we built just really fits this setting perfectly. We thought maybe we'll build on the lakefront because there's a fabulous view. You've got 450 feet down there on Smith Lake front. And we thought about down there, but we were familiar enough with the lake to know that during the summer, you're not really stepping away in time.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of noise actually down there. So we wrote that off really first, and then it came down to this place. But then I just love the fact that I could put a gate up, drive across the dam, and be looking across this water at the house as I approached it. So hands down, I've not regretted it. This is the spot.
Yeah, the drive in is incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that just gets you tickled every time you
It
come
impresses me. After 20 years, I still am thrilled coming across that drive.
Yeah. So let's talk about maybe you given a lot of thought to the ideal buyer for this place, but also several of the possibilities, which we kind of touched on a little bit. But when you think real hard about it, who do you think this place really fits most? Who's the ideal next owner for this property?
You know, it's hard to say, but people looking toward Smith Lake they're going to be boaters, and they're going to be water sports enthusiasts. So we're right here at Trident Marina. So it is location from that perspective. So someone who wants to keep their boat in the marina, and the great thing is they have a concierge service down there. You can phone down there and say, would you have my boat out of dry dock and put it in the water for me?
Yeah, they'll gas it. They'll put ice on the boat.
Yeah, I mean, they will have your boat ready to go. And I mean, you know, people want their own boat docks, but also boats can get damaged in boat docks from traffic. So I would say it's probably going to be a boat owner, a boat enthusiast, a water enthusiast. But then I could see this property, because it's so large, I could see it spanning generations, to where if it became a family compound, to where you had, where somebody came in here and thought about not only their usage of this, but that their posterity, in years to come, would still be enjoying this place. And there could be multiple homes on this with all kinds of privacy. So a family compound, a corporate compound with, with maybe a training component where you bring people in here to train, and then possibly you have cottages. If you need large corporate stuff, you could have cottages all over this. So that's one. It actually, I think it has potential as a church, a church retreat, training facility, because the people in the city, need a place to get away, and so that corporate, family. And it does, and you alluded to this, it does have developmental potential or cottages in the woods, boat owners who have a cottage in the woods and are a couple of minutes from their boat.
Yeah, because you took me on a tour of the whole property. So there was like that high point, kind of the overlook point, would be your common area. So you
Right.
have a pavilion, a pool,
Pool and whatever.
yeah, big overlook area,
down on the main front.
and then it goes down, so you can have more of your. You talked about a boardwalk. It's amazing your vision for just all the different functionalities of the property are pretty amazing. But you mentioned like there's several great home spots or cottage spots, cabin spots, tiny home spots. But you could there's so much space and so much woods, you still wouldn't lose your privacy. These people could still enjoy their private little retreat in the woods, but also have that social aspect
Right.
that they may be longing for.
Right. There could be multiple homes here with no line of sight to another house. I mean, with just total privacy. Yeah.
And then the other thing you mentioned that was really unique, that if somebody, because I like the thought of living off the grid and being self-sustaining, but I got to have my internet and all the stuff for my work. So there's that aspect too. I mean, you could have a big garden out here. You could live off the land. You can hunt, fish. So it does have that self-sustainability quality to it, which is really unique.
Right. Right.
So what about I don't know. Do you have a favorite memory or anything that you can recall? I know that's kind of an off the cuff question. You might need some thought about it.
I think when our son was in high school, we didn't live out here full time. We had a place in town in Coleman, but their cross country team, the math teams, we would have their functions out here and have this place just a beehive of activity with kids laughing and enjoying each other and canoeing and swimming out there. Of course, we had an understanding everybody had to have a life jacket on to be in that water.
Right.
But it was just a blast having the parents up here looking out here and seeing another generation just having a blast right there as we're enjoying each other here. So I think the intergenerational thing, I've mentioned it, and I think that's a big deal.
I would agree. And when you think about this being such a generational property, it reminds me, I sold a house in Fairhope, and we were laughing because I think you're the third seller in an almost 20-year career who's agreed to be on camera with me. But this seller agreed to be on camera with me, and it was one of those kind of southern white, big columns, that antebellum style home, and she referred to it as a heritage home. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. She said, you're gonna love this. She said, you don't own a heritage home. It owns you. And that kind of, I think, really is a great description of the emotional connection you have with the property.
Along that line, we have felt that we are here to steward this property. And it really does there's something about stewardship that is different from ownership. Ownership, you just really try to decide what you're going to do and what's going to happen. But stewardship, you try to be in touch with that property. And it's sort of, coming across that dam that first day, I think that stewardship thing came in because the property just sort of screamed out, this place, create something that will speak louder than you can speak. Create something that will survive you.
Love that.
So I think, yes, I think stewardship and then from from a point, and this is very personal for us because from a religious standpoint, we feel that we have the responsibility to steward well and not to take too much ownership of things, but steward it so that when the next steward comes along, you've done a good job of developing and handing something off to the next steward.
Yeah, because I mean, it really was this close to becoming another phase of a subdivision or, an RV park. I mean, this could not be here today if you hadn't stepped in to steward it.
Absolutely, because the previous owner had all kinds of designs on this property for that upper end to become an RV resort, and we just came in at the right time.
The perfect time.
Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to kind of close with this. There's a kind of a bonus, if you will, of this property in that you have donated a large portion of it to a nonprofit charitable organization, a faith-based organization.
Right.
What's the name of that organization again? Do you feel comfortable mentioning it?
Okay, sure. It's called CRU, CRU, and Jesus Film Project. So when we realized that our time here is wrapping up, we just wanted to make sure that the assets from this went to something that would survive us, and it is a faith-based organization, CRU, and so we donated the majority of this property to that, and so when it's sold, those proceeds will go there, and that's an exciting thing for us.
Yeah,
we're elated about that.
Well, I think, the buyers, that would be something special to them. When they're buying this property, they're, partnering in on a pretty sizable charitable donation, and who knows what all good works will be done with the proceeds.
I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, but yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were coming in here, I would like to know that the money I spend for this property, my investment here, is it actually has repercussions around the world. And in a glorious way.
Yeah, untold.
Yeah.
Ripple effects.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I know this is not everybody's cup of tea. I know a lot of people watching would go, "I can't believe he got him to do that," but it's so special. It's like, and even this video would be great for other real estate agents out there. I mean, you would just be lost if I was showing up here with a buyer and I didn't have a side-by-side, and it was my first time being here. I wouldn't even know where to start, much less all the rich history of the property. So this has just been invaluable. Thank you so much.
Let me just reinforce one thing that you mentioned.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've talked about being disconnected here, but Colon Electric Co-op has run the Sprout system, which is the highest speed internet in this county. They have run it. We have it right here in this property. So we have very high speed internet. So we're out here in the woods, but we are internet very connected.
Yeah. So when you talk about that corporate retreat, or whether it's affiliated with a church organization, where they're doing training out here, I mean, you need high speed internet.
Oh, that's all here.
That's kind of unheard of. I mean, you can't, and it's gotten so big post COVID, with people being able to work from home, and people are packing up and moving across country to different parts of the country, doing things they never thought they could do until they retired, that they're doing right now. And it's just it's almost odd to have, a retreat in the woods, but also have all the modern stuff that you want. And then you bring up Coleman. I did want to mention that before we wrapped up it's a really cute little town. It's got, a strawberry fest, and, it's got a lot of annual events, and it's a great little place, and the schools are great. So it's a great place to live, and it's in, a great location You're kind of in between Huntsville and Birmingham.
Midway.
Yeah, and Birmingham has a great culinary scene. So if you wanted to drive into town for dinner and a show, a concert, or they have, plays, Broadway plays and everything, and sports and all that stuff. Of course, Huntsville has become like one of the tech capitals of the nation, and there's a lot of growth there. So if you lived in Birmingham or worked in Huntsville, either or, and this was the place you came to on the weekends, which is what you did. I mean, what a great place to just let all your care leave, like you said, kind of leave all your cares and the stress of the hustle and bustle of your work life at that gate. And when you come in here, it's just all rest and relaxation.
Jason, a lot of the buyers now on the lake are coming from Nashville. So we have Nashville, Memphis, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. So Smith Lake has become quite an attraction for the Southeast.
Yeah, and you mentioned, there were some folks from California that were kind of poking around here. And
yes.
So yeah, it's what, one of the cleanest lakes, or if not the cleanest. It gets a top rating.
Yes. Right.
For its cleanliness, and so I think that's really, really important to people. There's several lakes around the state that really get a poor rating in terms of water quality.
Right.
It's a beautiful lake, emerald green water. I love all the rock ledges and rock faces, and it's just really, really pretty.
And we get all the seasons here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is beautiful. Fall. This is beautiful. So in this location, you really do get all the seasons. Spring is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Here, we've had this place blanketed with snow.
I bet that's incredible.
And we've had portions of the lake. It's interesting. We have portions of this lake to freeze. I mean, it's just so you actually, Smith Lake is not just summer.
Yeah.
Particularly, this property is not just summer.
Yeah.
This is an all seasons property.
Love it. Well, again, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Jason.
Really appreciate
this.
it.
I know this is
Pleasure.
a big ask, but it's been really valuable.
Hope you can use it.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.